everybody, Bobby here, and I'm doing another review. With Wild Beyond Witchlight coming out, I don't actually typically review D&D adventures, but I had to talk about this one. In fact, I had to talk about it to the point that I wanted it to come out while the book is still pretty new, because 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons finally did something I thought may have become impossible. They released an adventure with a good first act. Don't get me wrong, Curse of Strahd's good. Lost Minds of Phandelver is good. But all of D&D 5th edition's published adventures with these nice, the hardcover, I call them mini campaigns because it's not like they run 1 to 20 ever. All of them tend to have an Act 1 problem. Curse of Strahd literally makes Act 1 an optional haunted house. Death House is fun, but has nothing to do with Curse of Strahd. The campaign starts, and the campaign has a beginning. And to me, they're disjointed. It's like, let's have the introductory first 3 levels we pump through tutorial, or you can skip it, which is fine. It's better than things like Descent into Avernus, which literally has Act 1 go, hop on this railroad or kill your players if they don't, and it's not even a good railroad, and in the end all of Act 1 doesn't really matter anyways. One of the worst, all the way up to Out of the Abyss, which has a good RP Act 1, but it drops so many NPCs right away onto the DM that it's a nightmare to run. Wild Beyond Witchlight, unlike the others, is first of all written assuming that this might be a DM's first adventure, which is for some reason some kind of shocker for a non-starter set. Give advice for how to run the game. Advice that they didn't even put in the DMG. It's just flat out useful. But on top of that, it is an adventure that delivers on the promise that you don't have to have combat. And I think that's very, very important for 5th edition. You can fight things. First of all, it shows different modes of play other than let's kill everything, but also it allows the adventure to kind of just ignore the CR system. Because none of the fights have to be combat balance doesn't matter as much. Because if the players get into a fight with something, that's on them. Now, on top of all of that, at this point, we're just talking about macro things. This adventure is good enough that I am organizing us to start running this live. I'm modifying, honestly, like the first 2 scenes of Act 1 for an idea I have, which you might be seeing this after it's already come out, but I don't want to give spoilers. I'm doing some weird stuff with this because that's what I do. But even as is, it gives multiple ways to start the adventure. It gives a general hook for those used to, you just have a quest giver telling you to go do a thing. And it also gives a hook that makes it personal to the players. And once you read the entire adventure, the personal hook to the players is most definitely assumed to be the hook. Because while it doesn't have to be included, they even say this is only if you included it. If you go with the Things Lost hook, which is about all of the characters first got involved in the Witchlight Carnival as children and are coming back in almost an It situation, it circles back around beautifully. The adventure is written so well. These are some of the best NPCs I've read about in a 5e product in a long time. The villains are a group of 3 hags, which isn't really a surprise or a spoiler to me. If you've done any reading about this, you know that. But it gives varied villains that all work as one collective, while there's then also a whole other villainous faction and a classic heroic faction. But also the players can align themselves with either faction or neither faction, or find some way to align themselves with both and play them off of each other. And you can do all of it, and it's set up where the main 3 villains will most likely be defeated, but there's notes on how to, if they don't get defeated, to make them more long-running villains, or even better, even if they are, things like the villainous faction can stay for campaigns beyond this. It does run level 1 to 8, so it's low level, but like for me, that's my jam. I love up to level 10 in D&D. It's not promising to be a grand epic situation in levels. It uses the milestone system, and it really stretches out those earlier levels. It doesn't rush through them. You will hit level 2 when you finish Act 1. Okay? Again, we're talking about before, Curse of Strahd for most of us has been the gold standard for a 5e adventure, and you go through level 1 through 3 before the campaign itself actually starts. This, you're level 2 when you get to chapter 2, which is essentially the end of Act 1. And then chapters 2, 3, and 4 are Act 2. So this game takes its time with being low level, which I appreciate. There's varied NPCs and reoccurring NPCs that you may not expect to be reoccurring. And yes, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, and I feel like they're finally acknowledging if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, either you're playing it because it's the one everybody knows and you fell into it, or because you have a history with it. And this adventure plays off of the history with D&D. You will encounter major characters from the lore of Dungeons and Dragons, but not in a Storm King's Thunder, oh, let's walk through a slideshow of things to prove we can reference stuff. They're here and they're interwoven and they matter. Dragon Heist is somewhat similar to this with Volo, but here it's even bigger. And I don't want to give any of those away. There are nods to the animated series. There's one in Act 1, which is what I'm using for some of my modifications, but there's deeper, more subtle nods to the animated series. This is a campaign for people who love D&D, or for people who are completely new to D&D and want to step into it. Now, Lost Minds of Phandelver is also kind of known as like it's the gateway into D&D. It's the starter set. It is an typical Dungeons and Dragons adventure. You got a goblin cave, you got a bandit hideout, you eventually face off against a dragon. You cover all the bases of classic D&D. Beyond the Witchlight is kind of the new D&D, or the RP side of D&D, because you have a carnival and you have a bunch of NPCs, kind of similar to the issue with Out of the Abyss. But in Out of the Abyss, scene 1, all the players and all those NPCs are in a jail cell together. You have to interact with all of them. In this, they're all spread out around a carnival, and you should familiarize with them. But first of all, you can link NPCs to locations, which helps organize them up here for DMs. But also, you can guide the players to maybe select 2 or 3 locations to start of the NPCs you're comfortable with, and then move on to a few more NPCs and flesh it out, not have them all show up in the first 5 minutes. So you get the best of both worlds. This game, like I said earlier, is good enough. I picked it up, I read, I immediately I want to run it. I picked up the dice set because it came with an extra map that I don't have to rip out of my book, and cards for all the carnival activities as their own things. Also really nice dice. I picked up D&D Beyond because I need a digital set. I don't do that for Dungeons and Dragons products. Okay, this isn't like, oh, who fanboys D&D? I rarely actually run D&D. I mostly do Monster of the Week, Powered by the Apocalypse games. I'm paid to run Savage Worlds games. I do a lot of Free League stuff. But this got me reinterested. And if that sounds like it might be something up your alley, check it out too, because it's really good if you need a pre-written adventure or just an idea. This thing has tables for minor curses that can just happen because it's all in the Feywild. This thing has a table for things that can be stolen from the players. And I'm not talking coins. I'm talking the ability to smile. There's some fun stuff you can repurpose this book to do. But with that, we're going to have a few more actual play stuff on the channel for a while, because that's what we're doing while I'm also working for some companies to do more TTRPG stuff while we're producing bigger things and all of that. So check those out if you want. I'm hoping to get more reviews like this out soon too. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.